Hey, this is Off the Cuff, and I'm Steve from TorahFamily.org. Today we want to talk about why we celebrate the second Passover and not the first. This is something that we get asked quite a bit around Passover time now, especially ever since we started celebrating, our family started celebrating the second Passover and not the first. And I want to state from the beginning here that none of us are able to obey any of the feast days today. It's just an impossibility to officially obey them, okay? Because we have no temple, we have no priesthood. There's things that are preventing us from obeying them the right way, okay? So therefore, since we can't obey them, all we can do is remember them, memorialize them as we look forward to being able to do them when Yeshua returns. So I really want to make that clear. None of us are able to obey them officially. We're just doing our best to remember them until Yeshua returns. And then, yes, then we'll get to do it correctly. So I want to make sure that's clear and that we don't forget that. In all of our efforts that we're doing, in whatever Passover or feast you're celebrating, remember, you're just remembering it. Okay, we're not obeying it. It's an impossibility to obey it today. At least that's our take. Okay. Now, that being said, the second Passover was provided for those who were unclean because of touching a dead body or because they were gone on a long journey. Now, these provisions were given to us in Numbers chapter 9. So let's read them. Now, there's quite a few verses here, so bear with me as we go through this, all right? Numbers chapter 9, verse 6. But some of them could not celebrate the Passover on that day because they were ceremonially unclean on account of a dead body. So they came to Moses and Aaron that same day and said to Moses, "We have become unclean because of a dead body. But why should we be kept from presenting Yahweh's offering with the other Israelites at the appointed time?" Moses answered them, "Wait until I find out what Yahweh commands concerning you." Then Yahweh said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites, when any of you or your descendants are unclean because of a dead body, or are away on a journey, they may still celebrate Yahweh's Passover. They are to celebrate it on the 14th day of the second month at twilight. They are to eat the lamb together with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They must not leave any of it till morning, or break any of its bones. When they celebrate the Passover, they must follow all the regulations." So it was provided because of a request of being unclean because of touching dead bodies here in Numbers chapter 9. However, we see Yahweh provided another reason for the second Passover for no reason at all, meaning it wasn't requested. It was for those who were on a long journey. Yahweh provided the second part without, meaning being gone on a long journey, it was provided without a request, meaning no one was like saying, "Hey, I'm going to be gone." Or it was only about, the request was concerning them touching a dead body. So what's that tell us? It tells us Yahweh knew this is an element that would be needed in the future. Now, thinking in times here, stick with me here and thinking in times. Who has been gone on a long journey? Prophetically speaking, it's the prodigal son, okay? It's also known as Ephraim, the northern kingdom. Okay, these are the ones who are gone now on a long journey. They're afar off. They've been banished away. So they can't celebrate the Passover. Now, where do we see a second Passover provided specifically for the northern kingdom in the scriptures? Okay, we actually have verses for this, for the northern kingdom, and they actually celebrate the second Passover. It's found in 2 Chronicles. Let's read it. Now, please read the whole chapter for yourself. Please. I think you'll find it really cool and interesting. So let's consider verses 6 through 15. At the king's command, couriers went throughout Israel and Judah with letters from the king and from his officials, which read, "People of Israel, return to Yahweh, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, that he may return to you who are left, who have escaped from the hand of the kings of Assyria. Do not be like your fathers and brothers who were unfaithful to Yahweh, the God of their fathers, so that he made them an object of horror, as you see. Do not be stiff-necked, as your fathers were. Submit to Yahweh. Come to the sanctuary, which he has consecrated forever. Serve Yahweh your God, so that his fierce anger will turn away from you. If you return to Yahweh, then your brothers and your children will be shown compassion by their captors and will come back to this land. For Yahweh your God is gracious and compassionate. He will not turn his face from you if you return to him. The couriers went from town to town in Ephraim and Manasseh, as far as Zebulun, but the people scorned and ridiculed them. Nevertheless, some men of Asher, Manasseh, and Zebulun humbled themselves and went to Jerusalem. Also in Judah, the hand of God was on the people to give them unity of mind, to carry out what the king and his officials had ordered, following the word of Yahweh. A very large crowd of people assembled in Jerusalem to celebrate the Feast of Unleavened Bread in the second month. Now, I want to hit pause here for a second. Notice, they're celebrating not just the second Passover, but all of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Everything with it, okay? Not just Passover, but all that was included with it. Now, this is in accordance to what is said in Numbers 9, verses 11 and 12. Here we see all the instructions of the Passover itself. And then, after those instructions, we see it says, when they celebrate the Passover, they must follow all the regulations. To me, this means everything, meaning first fruits and unleavened bread with the Passover, which is what we see was done here in 2 Chronicles. This message that was sent in 2 Chronicles was from the king of the south, okay? And he was sending it to all those in the northern kingdom who had not been banished to Syria yet. Okay, now, what does this tell us? This tells us that Yahweh is still offering grace and mercy to the northern kingdom. Hey, look, you don't have to be banished. You can come back even now, okay? Those of you who are left, there is still grace for you. Please come back. And obviously, as we read, many of them scorned the message, okay? But there were still many, okay, who humbled themselves. I think that was really cool. It even says they humbled themselves and came back down, okay, and celebrated the second Passover. I just think that's cool, humility. We need humility. Oh, that's a different message. Let's move forward. Okay. So the thing is, we see that they were given grace. They were given mercy. And we can at least see how the second Passover applied to the northern kingdom in the scriptures. Now, if it happened to them, if it applied to them then, can't it apply to the northern kingdom today? Well, yeah, I think so. Now some would say, well, but you're still not in the land for the second Passover. So what's the difference? Agreed. There's no debating that. Okay. So basically, if I'm not going to be in the land for the second Passover, then why not just go ahead and celebrate the first Passover? That's the reasoning and logic that we get coming at us quite often. And I agree. And again, we're not able to really obey any of the feasts. Okay. All I can say is that for us, since we're not in the land for the first, okay, there's provision for the second because of that. And again, the argument is, well, but you're still not in the land at the second. I agree. But just to us, it just seems to be more appropriate to do the second when you're not in the land as opposed to the first. And to me, it's a reminder to me in our family of what took place with the ark. Because if you look at our teaching as in the days of Noah, I really believe there's evidence that shows that flood happened at the second first fruits, the time of the second Passover, the time of the second Feast of Unleavened Bread. So, and because of that, I believe that the return of Yeshua will be in that second Passover season, okay? So to me, it's like, it's all the more of the time when we're gone and we're going to be taken back to the land at the time of the second Passover. The northern kingdom, all of us will be gathered together at that time in the land. And that's really why we look forward to second Passover. It's more of a remembrance that we're not in the land now, okay? We passed first Passover because we're not in the land. We're not there. It's a reminder to us, we're not there, okay? And the second Passover is to remember that the time is coming when we will be taken there. So, well, that's pretty much all I have. That's why we celebrate second Passover and not first Passover. Now, we used to celebrate first Passover. Remember, we've been there, okay? And I'm not saying anyone's wrong for doing that. That's not the case. I'm just giving you the reason why we celebrate second Passover. And it really has a meaning to us because, I don't know, we're not there. We're not in the land. So we should be celebrating, for us, remembering. Let me put it that way. Because, again, we can't obey it. We're just remembering. So just as much as I'm remembering, I want to look forward and be reminded of that, looking forward to when Yeshua comes, when we're all going to be taken back. When the two sticks are brought back together in the land. And to me, the second Passover just fits that picture so much better. It's a beautiful picture that we look forward to, and seeing it all played out. And when we celebrate the second Passover, it helps us to remember that all the more. We're remembering the past and looking forward to the future all the more because of how that second Passover is made for the northern kingdom, for us being brought back together. I hope that makes sense. But that's all I have. So hopefully, Lord willing, that makes sense. And yeah, that's all I've got. So think about it. Pray about it. But more than anything, be a doer of the word and not a hearer only. Until next time, Shalom.